I am going to go through my experience with Contiki today, specifically the European winter discovery one that I did this past December. I've been on another one previously. I went to the Scotland and England one about, it was like 2-3 years ago, and it was also amazing. But this one is still fresh in my mind, and I'm gonna take you through the specific places we were and my thoughts on it, pros, cons, and fun experiences, and I'll show you a few photos and whatnot in between. So excuse me if I'm looking down or whatever, that's just, I have my laptop here. Okay, so first of all, it wasn't as cold as I thought it would be, but that might have been very good weather. I'm from South Africa, so I was thinking European winter, I'm gonna freeze my bum off. And it was actually not that bad. I planned to wear layers and layers and layers, but I was actually fine. So I was very pleased about that. Of course, that's not something you have control over. It might be completely different every time. We started in London. So then that evening of the day that we first arrived, we met at the basement, the Contiki basement. There's like a headquarters thing there at the Royal National Hotel in London. And then you get to meet the people, you get to meet your tour manager and all of that. Initially, if there's a big group of strangers around each other, it's a little bit like people don't know what to say, they feel a bit uncomfortable, but at the end of the tour, you are honestly such good friends, and people stay friends. Like even from my previous Contiki, people afterwards have gone to other tours together, and they went to go visit each other in different countries and stuff like that. So the people that you meet on Contiki or on a tour like this, honestly, you keep them as friends. It's really fantastic, and that's probably one of my favorite things about Contiki is the people that you meet, because it's usually like-minded people, like people that want to travel and that want to see the world and that want to have fun. So that's really a definite plus point. But that evening in London, we went on a walking tour of the city. There was this guy from Ireland, I believe, that came and gave us a tour of London, and he knew a lot, got a lot of history and things like that, and it was really fantastic. The next day, early morning, around 6 o'clock, the tour officially started, and that was a Sunday, if I remember correctly. Then we drove to the cliffs of Dover. So that opposite Dover, it's in France. So we went on a ferry, and it was really, really cool. The whole bus went on the ferry, and then you just go a couple of flights up, and then you can look out on the water, or you can just chill inside. The cliffs of Dover were really different from what I expected. I thought it was very open and you could see it a lot, but it was a bit difficult to see for me, all of the cliffs. I completely had a different image in my mind because we did a poem on the cliffs of Dover when I was in high school. So I was, imagining a completely different landscape, but it was still pretty awesome. Then that first night, part of the first day, then we went through Belgium. We just drove through there, and then we went to Amsterdam. They had an absolutely amazing buffet. It was so cool. Lots of food, and then we could go out that evening. So we are guided a lot in the Contiki. We guided to the places, and then we have our own free time, which is fantastic because yes, you wanna go on the tour and everything like that, but you also want time for yourself and to explore and do like the locals do and just check out the things there. So in Amsterdam, we did go through the red light district. We saw that, which would be very interesting for some people. And then we just went out and you could go out and do whatever you wanted to do. But I also got to see my friend that is living there, so I met up with her, which was amazing. And then day 2, we drove to the Rhine Valley. We went to a place in Germany called St. Gor, and it's this tiny little cute place. And that evening we stayed in a locally owned hotel. So the guy prepared, or I don't know, the people prepared this German dish for us, and we sat in tables and we all shared together. And then we got an included wine tasting that evening, and the host was incredibly funny and so cool. And an interesting thing for me was the ice wine. So especially in that region, it's very, very famous, the ice wine, that they make the wine from frozen grapes, that it has to be a very specific temperature. And we got to taste it, and it's very expensive, but they also gave us that to taste, and we got also a little shot glass to take with. But it was an incredible evening actually. And then we went to Munich the next day, or München as it is actually known. So that was that was wonderful. We also had a city tour by an American. So it seems like a lot of people from other countries come to Europe to be tour guides. It's pretty cool. And then, the Christmas markets were there. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to go in winter, the Christmas markets. So it was spectacular, and lots of glühwein as well, of course. Then we walked around there, and there was also a beautiful church, but we got to know a lot of the history. Europe is so rich in history, and of course the buildings are amazing. Then the next day we went to Innsbruck. So Innsbruck is in Austria. I think Innsbruck was probably my favorite destination of the whole tour. It was like a fairy tale for me. It was like unbelievable. I don't know, I've never experienced something like that before. The mountains were so beautiful. But during the day, we went up on the mountain with a little cable car. And then we played in the snow as well there. We didn't ski, but we had these little things that we just slid down. And we had also something quick to eat there, and on top of the mountain, and then you can look over and everything. And then we also had some glühwein there on top. It was absolutely wonderful, and again, it wasn't that cold. I was very pleasantly surprised. And Innsbruck is of course very well known for the Olympic ski jump. And in Innsbruck, what was also very nice is it's very famous for the Sachertorte. So the Sachertorte, sorry, I'm just getting comfortable. Sachertorte, it's a chocolate cake, and we had it in the restaurant that it kind of originated in. And what was very special for me is my grandmother went on a world tour eons ago, and she told me about that when I was young, that she was in Innsbruck and she had the Sachertorte. So, and I was very close to my grandma, and to experience the same thing that she did was for me very, very special. And we came across South Africans there. Everywhere we went, we just saw South Africans. It was so cool. And have a look at all of the schnapps, all the different varieties that there were as well. The next day we went to Venice. Venice was also actually incredible. We went from the mainland with a little ferry boat thing to Venice, and we also got a tour there from a local. We also wandered around the streets, and I had lots of gelato. I wanted to try the pistachio gelato. And then we went into this little bar. The waitress was so lovely. She gave us an Aperol Spritz for free. So Aperol, apparently they say that when you go on a date, you don't go for coffee, you go for the Aperol Spritz. So she's like, oh no, you have to try it, it's so Italian. And yesterday I found Aperol here in the bottle store in South Africa, because I was looking all the time. I just wanted it, and it's really lovely. We saw the Bridge of Sighs and St. Mark's Square and all of those places. And we also went on a gondola thing. So with Contiki, there are a lot of inclusions, and then there are optionals. So we decided to do all of the optionals as well. So you do pay extra, but you sometimes still get it at a reduced price versus if you were to do it on your own, because it's a tour group and so on. And all of the inclusions are actually really worth it. So we decided to make full use of that. The next day we went to Rome. Rome is quite interesting. Okay, Rome is massive, so it was a bit grimy, but I think any big city usually is a bit more like that. We went to see St. Peter's Basilica, and actually the Vatican City, I'm lying, that we did on our own. So we went to the Vatican City on our own, so I could count that as another country that I've been to. And we did get to see the Colosseum and the Roman Forum, the Trevi Fountain, the Pantheon, and places like that. And I had the best carbonara ever there. So the amount of pasta that I ate in Italy is just, it was so worth it. I'm a dietitian, but I just kind of forgot that for a little while on purpose because I was definitely going to go all out with the yummy food. Then the next day we went to Florence. I found the history of Florence to be really, really interesting. We learned a lot about the Medicis. That was this very, very powerful family in Italy. And in Florence, a lot of the very famous artists originate from there. Florence is stunning. Then we went to Lucerne in Switzerland. So my impression of Switzerland was, it's probably the most picture perfect place that I've ever been to. It's like there's not a hair out of place, but it's ridiculously expensive. It's very, very expensive, but it's pretty awesome. The people are also very friendly from my experience, and there was also a ice skating place that you could go on there in the evening mirror. And did that. I didn't do that because my knees were really sore. That's something that happened to me. I was walking so much, I kind of injured my knees. It was due to other things going on, but yeah, I hurt my knees and I had to go get knee guards and like Voltaren gel. And then we went to Paris. So Paris we were there during Christmas. We were in Paris, and in the evening we got to see the Eiffel Tower, and with the lights shining, and you know, it was really, really stunning. And we saw the Arc de Triomphe, the Louvre. So the Louvre was closed because it was Christmas, unfortunately. That would have probably been one of my highlights because I love art, but it was unfortunately closed. And we went on a perfume tour, and I actually bought myself some French perfume from France, which was very nice. And we saw the Notre Dame. Oh, and then I forgot that we went to the Moulin Rouge on Christmas Day. That was really, really an experience. Very entertaining. And the next day we went back to London. So that was unfortunately the end of our tour. And my boyfriend and I had some time. We went to the British Museum, which was absolutely fascinating. They have such a large collection of historical artifacts and things like that. Very, very cool. The tour total for me was about 2 weeks. And that was enough time. That was honestly enough time. So, you know, you get to see so many things, but it's not too long because, you know, like even with holidays, sometimes it's, you want to go home at some stage. I would say that the pros of Contiki. So let's talk about the pros of Contiki. So they organize basically everything. So you get up, you go eat your breakfast that is provided in the hotels, you get on the bus, they take you everywhere. You don't stress about anything, because if you were to organize all of these things that we did, it would take you really, really long. We did so much. The amount of stuff that we saw was just like mind-blowing. So I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to plan for like months and months, and it was just too much effort for me. So that's a big plus. And then of course, yes, you just do sometimes get discounts with the things that you get to see. And the accommodation is quite good. So usually it's the budget hotels and things like that, but it's perfectly fine. It's really, really fine. And like I said, meeting the people is one of the best parts. It's mostly always Australians. So even with my previous tour, it was also Australians, which is great because Australians are awesome. And then there was a couple from New Zealand. We were the only 2 South Africans. And then there were from Canada people and America. Yes. But I'd say like, it's the places I get to see, and then the people that I meet are like close seconds from Contiki, because that's pretty, really nice. If we're talking about drawbacks, it depends what type of a holiday you like. If you like the very fast pace, let's do everything every second of the day, see as much as we can, don't sleep, that type of thing, then if you like that type of thing, then this is definitely for you, because you get to see so much in a short amount of time. But if you prefer the leisurely pace, then maybe a tour group like this is maybe the best for you. Although you get different types of tours in Contiki, like the adventure one, you get the discovery, the in-depth explorer. The Scotland one that I did was the in-depth explorer, but it was also pretty jam-packed. But you know what, it's for a short while, and it doesn't matter if you don't sleep that much. You just make the best of the time that you have there, in my opinion. And I'm also somebody that can like go. And like that being said, the sleep, we probably slept like 6 hours a night. It wasn't that bad, but it also depends on you. So if you want to go out every night till like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then come home to the hotel at 5 and then have to wake up at 6 or something like that, yes, of course, you're gonna pretty much burn yourself out, but it's up to you. So nobody's forcing you to go party, and nobody's, you know what, it's totally up to you. On that note with the partying, so I've heard a lot of people were asking about that. there are more than enough opportunities to go out and party and have a good time. If that's not your thing, then you don't have to do it. So, I mean, there were also people in our group that didn't really drink much and so on, and I'm also really not a big drinker at all. And you don't have to, like, there's no peer pressure. And you just go home earlier. It's really not a problem. Our group this time was quite small. We were about 23, 24 total with the tour leader and then the bus driver, I believe. My previous Contiki was pretty large. I believe it was like in the 50s or something like that. But we had so much space on the bus as well. We each could sit on our own seat with a thing next to it, so an open seat. And the buses are also quite comfortable. So there's a little USB charger thingy and there's TV screens on top. So sometimes we got shown a video, or when we waited to go back with the ferry again, when at one occasion we put a movie on because we were waiting so long. So that's also a form of entertainment. Then the tour manager and the bus driver, they are so professional. So with a bus, yes, you do drive long distances, you really do, but you have to stop by law they are required to stop frequently. So the gas stations are awesome, there's great food there, so that wasn't actually such a big problem. And I mean, you can also sleep in the bus if you'd like to, or you can read, or you can listen to music or be on your phone. There is Wi-Fi on the bus, but it wasn't really good Wi-Fi. It kind of like always disconnected, and you only have a certain amount of megabytes per day to use. The tour managers were so knowledgeable and they were great. This time it was Amy. So Amy, you probably will never see this, but you were amazing. Thank you. And Tom was the previous one. So I think they undergo very good training, and they know their stuff. And they're very fun. And yeah, like I don't have much bad to say, because I feel like even if something happens that, you know, maybe not that fond of, it's still an amazing opportunity. You are in so many different countries with amazing people for a short amount of time. So you just make the best out of whatever comes. There's no use in complaining as well. But my overall impression was really positive. The age group of the people, it does say from 18 to 35, but most of the people on the previous one also were like early to mid 20s, and then there's sometimes a few outliers that are like high 20s or like even early 30s, but most, I would say the like average is like, man, probably like 23, 24. I'm turning 26 in a couple of days, so I was one of the older people there, which is not a problem. Yeah, but overall I'd say it's a great experience and I loved it, and it was fantastic. So if anybody wants to do something like this, I give it a thumbs up. I had the best time. I hope you learned something from that. I just basically talked about how I felt. Of course, everybody's experience is different, but I hope you got to see some pretty pictures and just get an idea of what the European discovery entails and so on. Okay, if you have any questions, please leave them down below and I'll try to get back to you. And has anybody been on Contiki before, and what was your experience? I'd be really interested to hear. Bye bye.